Welcome into Seahawks Today by Chat Sports. I'm Meghan Payton. We've got some off-season Seahawks news and rumors to discuss, including Russell Wilson, Duane Brown. But first, I would like to tell you guys that today is my last day at Chat Sports. I appreciate every single one of you that have tuned into Seahawks Today all season long to stay up to date with us through the craziness of the Seattle Seahawks season. But this is not the end for Seahawks Today. Tom and the other people over here at Chat Sports, who are amazing, are going to keep you guys up to date all off season. So if you guys are not, please go ahead and subscribe to Seahawks Today to stay in the know all off season long. You guys can go to youtube.com/Seahawks TV. And thank you again for watching with us all season long. But let's get into what we're talking about today. We're talking first Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is headed to the Pro Bowl. Who would have thought? Kind of crazy, but Russell is going to be headed there for the 9th time in his career out of 10 years. He is in as a replacement for Tom Brady, who is not going to be participating due to injury. As we know, Quandre Diggs and Bobby Wagner, they were originally the two Seahawks players that were voted into the Pro Bowl, but both of them obviously suffering injuries. So we are not going to get to see them at the Pro Bowl, but Russell Wilson's in. Let's look at his stats to see if he, earned his spot there. 64.8 completion percentage, 3,113 yards, 25 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and a QBR of 55. This was over 14 games, as we know. Russell Wilson missing time with that finger injury. Now, I know that he had, kind of a slump throughout the season, but I will say that Russell Wilson, he did fight back towards the end. We started to see those last few games, and we said, Russell Wilson's back to looking like Russ. So I'm happy for him. I think you guys should be too. So if you want to go and congratulate Russell Wilson, go to the comments right now and type congrats, because Russ is headed to the Pro Bowl this year in Vegas. All right, now we are going to switch over to some other news around Seattle. The coaching staff situation is still really not figured out. So we do have a Seahawks coaching update for you guys, one that actually might not affect Seattle at all. But do you guys remember Auburn offensive coordinator Austin Davis, who used to be the QB coach in Seattle? He left towards the end of this season, went to Auburn to take on the offensive coordinator position. Now he is stepping down. He said he is retiring. This was his exact quote. He said, "My decision to resign is 100% based on personal reasons. After more than a decade in the NFL with daily grind as a player, coach, I realized how much I miss my family." He goes on and on, but pretty much to say he's just taken a step back from football and coaching, but obviously doesn't impact the Seahawks. Just a fun kind of side note, after losing him during the middle of the season. Now the Seahawks are still on the coaching staff hunt. They got to figure out a few positions. Now, I know the one we keep talking about is defensive coordinator. What are they going to do? Well, who are they going to have replace Ken Norton Jr.? We've done some replacement videos, so we'll put that in the link below and in the comments so you guys can go check that out if you missed it. But they really do have to also fill the passing game coordinator, and they do have to fill up that quarterback coach. They didn't replace Austin after he left in December. So those are 3 coaching positions that are going to be open. Now, guys, something that only has 7 hours and 50 minutes left, that is Seahawks hats. This deal ends tonight. You guys can go right now to chatsports.com/Seahawks hats. These are up to 50% off. I'm seeing hats on there for under $20. This is the daily deal for today's show. 7 hours, though. So if you're watching this, today is Monday. It ends on Monday, but they do have plenty of other things. If you guys go onto that website, you'll find a bunch of different Seahawks hats, beanies, cool things to get for the offseason and rep your Seahawks all year long. Why are we just wearing them in this season? So go check that out, chatsports.com/Seahawks hats. All right, moving on from coaches, we are talking free agency. Should the Seahawks re-sign Duane Brown? Duane Brown is going to hit free agency this offseason. It's one of the biggest questions that Pete Carroll and the Seahawks are going to have to figure out. He's turning 37 in August, so that's kind of begging the question of, should Seattle, go with someone younger, try to start fresh? He doesn't have much time left. His projected value this season is $10 million. So that's a good chunk of change to spend on him. Now, of course, you'd probably do a shorter term deal, like a 1 or 2 year deal, if you were to re-sign Duane Brown at his age. He is still playing well. He was up and down this season. He allowed 8 sacks, but 7 of those were during the first 9 games. During the last 8 games, he only allowed 1 sack. So we actually saw some improvement from Brown later in the season. PFF rates him 71.5 overall. He allowed 33 pressures in 3 hits. Now, here's the problem. The Seahawks options are limited. So you think about, all right, if they don't want to re-sign Duane Brown, what are they going to do? Unfortunately, they don't really have a solution. They could try to find an undrafted free agent or try to get someone in the draft, I guess. But you look at this offensive line depth chart of what they currently have, it's really not great. I mean, you could go with Stone Forsythe, but we really don't know much about how he's going to be. And I think that you see, just in general, this whole offensive line is going to have to be rebuilt because they are not going to be able to re-sign every single one of these guys that are free agents. As you see, Ethan Posick, Brandon Shell, Kyle Fuller, Jamarco Jones. There's a ton of guys on here that are going to need to get figured out. And PFF actually has Duane Brown as the one free agent that the Seahawks can't lose. They went through each team and gave their one free agent that needs to stay with the team. They had Duane Brown as it. This is what PFF said regarding Duane. They said Brown was pushing for an extension before the 2021 season and may take his talents elsewhere now without one. But Seattle did rework his contract to his liking and perhaps left the door open for a return. Brown played almost 1,000 snaps and earned a 71.5 grade, as he is still very strong in pass protection and as a run blocker. So again, I like Duane Brown. I think that he's got probably one more year left in him. I think the Seahawks can afford him. So I'd probably vote on yes, re-signing him. We haven't seen, too much of a decline yet to say otherwise. That's my opinion. Age is just a number. We've seen it. Tom Brady, maybe Duane Brown's the offensive lineman version of Brady. So I'll ask you guys this. Should the Seahawks re-sign Duane Brown? If you think so, type Y for yes or type N for no. But this is the pinned comment. So if you get the ad break right here, go scroll down, get your votes in. Let me know what you think about Duane Brown. All right, now Fansided threw out some Seahawks free agent targets, who they think the Seahawks should be looking out for. We're going to talk about 2 of them that they talked about that I think that as we approach the Super Bowl, you guys should be looking out for. The first one is Bengals tight end CJ Uzomah, who actually got hurt during the AFC Championship game. So we don't know if we are going to see him at Super Bowl, which is really upsetting. He sprained his MCL, it seems like, during the game. And now it's questionable for this Super Bowl game. Very upsetting for him. Now we talk about Seahawks tight ends. What's happening here? Gerald, Everett, Will Dissly. Those are really the 2 main guys. Colby Parkinson, the 3rd string, really not going to be your number 1 guy. But Will Dissly and Gerald Everett are both free agents. So the Seahawks would have to decide to re-sign them if they feel confident in bringing both of those guys back. Now, CJ is, I'd say, a stronger tight end. I would prefer him over Everett, clearly hoping that he gets healthy. It doesn't seem like it's anything too serious. But look at just their stats in 2021. Pretty similar. I guess the only main difference would be 1 extra touchdown for CJ, maybe a few extra yards, but they do have very similar stats. I do think that CJ is very consistent, though, which I like. He has like a 78 completion percentage when he's targeted, so he's reliable, he's consistent. I do think that the Seahawks should be watching out for him. We'll see if he is healthy next week or 2 weeks from now when they take on the Rams in the Super Bowl. Now, one Rams target we should be looking out for is Odell Beckham Jr. Here we go, back with the craziness of OBJ, who is going to be a free agent during the offseason. Right now, he's thinking Super Bowl, but once this is over, OBJ is going to have a decision to make, and the Rams are going to have a decision to make. Now, OBJ definitely bounced back after that Browns release, kind of proving himself with the Rams. Look at what he did with the Browns over 29 games played. He had 1,586 yards, and now just in 8 games he's played with the Rams, he's had over 300 yards. Also, just look at touchdowns. He's had 5 touchdowns with the Rams in 8 games, and in 29 games with the Browns, he only had 7. So it's no question that OBJ is still very talented. Now, I think he's so talented that I expect the Rams to figure out a way to re-sign OBJ. Now, they're in some cap issue. They have some cap trouble. They're going to deal with some problems and getting some of their guys back. I think they're going to have to choose between Von Miller and OBJ, and I think they're going to go with OBJ just based on age and how much more time Odell has left. But what are the pros and cons if Seattle were to get OBJ? Well, the pros are that he's proven himself as a dominant wide receiver. We know that now. He makes really clutch plays in situations where you need him to. Playoffs, he's great. He's a guy you want on your roster when you are needing a win last minute. Now, again, we said he bounced back from the Browns release. He's proven himself with Matthew Stafford. Now, there are cons that come along with OBJ. Of course, we know he's going to be probably very expensive. I wouldn't, just now that he's made it to the Super Bowl, shown what he's worth, I expect him to want a decent chunk of change. And of course, the off the field drama with OBJ is never fun. And I do think that it has to be a certain quarterback that deals with him. Russell Wilson might not like that added pressure. Him and DK fighting for that number one receiver role. Then, of course, you got Tyler Lockett, too. The Seahawks are in a pretty good spot receiver-wise. I've always felt like that. They've got DK. They got Tyler Lockett. Of course, you bring in OBJ, and that's great, too. But there are some concerns with him. So I'll ask you guys this. Out of the two guys we are discussing, we've got CJ Uzomah and we've got Odell Beckham Jr., one on the Bengals, one on the Rams. This is your Super Bowl 56 free agent target. So I'm asking you guys, pick one of these guys. Type U for Uzomah or type B for Odell Beckham Jr. Let me know what you guys think. And of course, guys, Seahawks Today is going to be keeping you updated all off-season long, all next season long. Again, I appreciate all of you for watching this. Going to miss being here on Seahawks Today, but make sure you go to youtube.com/Seahawks TV, click the big red button, and you will stay in the know in your favorite team in the NFC West.